We would change the world if we can get education in the children at 13, 14, 15, 16 about how the brain really works.
No word of a lie. This was the tipping point, and my life since then has been a roller coaster of insanity.
What's going on, people? This is where you want to be. Welcome to Spiritual Needs TV. Thank you for joining me today, and welcome back to another episode of A Chat with Jay and Cortez. And we have two special guests for you today. They are the Fifth Dimension creators and owners. We have Greg Riley and Michael McNAIR. Now, they are all the way from Australia. Now, one of our guests today was voted #1 medium in Australia, and the other one is a mixed martial arts master. Greg and Michael have spent the last decade dedicating their lives to help people reach and strive to become their true authentic selves and to reach that level of happiness within inside of them without having to look outside of them. Now, there's going to be 3 parts to this video because there is so much information. I don't want none of you to miss any of it. We're going to meet you inside this video. I thank you all for watching, showing your love and support. Remember, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I love you all. Stay blessed. Namaste.
But today we have two of the greatest individuals in Australia who care about people, getting the best out of your life and helping others become better. Just to give you a bit of a quick rundown, these two fantastic individuals run a business called 5 Dimensions, which I did a course. I was honored to do a Shadow Warrior course, which is basically looking deep inside you to become better and see what you can do and what's happening within your life that is affecting you at the time.
Start by how you first got together and how the Fifth Dimension program started for yourselves, if you don't mind.
It's probably
a great question.
Yeah.
If you can remember, that is.
How far back do you want to go?
Taking you back.
Go right into it, Greg. Yeah.
It's a bit of a, I'll make the long story short. So I'll give you a bit of a background about me and where I've come from, right? So, so I was brought up Catholic. The whole thing about, you're a sinner and you've got to repent from day one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so went through my teens, played a lot of footy, played, very, very good at sport in some areas. And, went down that whole thing about what is success, what do you want to be when you grow up and all that kind of thing. So it was drummed into me that success is about your job and success is about how many women you pull and all that kind of stuff. All that macho bullshit male shit. So anyway, so then you get in the big bad world. 17, I started working for a bank, one of the big 4 banks here in Melbourne or Australia, in a cadetship, and went through that and basically had everything. I had the job, I had the whole lot, I had the money, had enough drugs up my nose to poke my stick out in the first 3 or 4 years. So between the ages of about 17 and about 21, there's a bit of a gap there. Partied really hard, but I got to the point where it was meaningless. It really meant nothing. Mm-hmm. You're having these, great times, but you're not having great times, and you may have things materially, but you're hollow inside. So,
yes.
And so that led me down the path of martial arts, and I'm a very novice martial arts. Michael's a lethal weapon. He'll tell you about his stuff. He's literally got black belts everywhere. So I did meditation, martial arts, trying to find more about that deeper stuff. So I'm going to these meditation places in a full-on suit. Everyone looked at me going, "Why are you here?" But it was really good because I'm this banker that was going to do that. So it sort of opened up what I used to do as a child. I used to do astral travel or astral projection when I was a kid, when I was about between 7 and about 10. So and that sort of stopped when I was about a teenager. But that started to reactivate.
You were doing that at the time? Did you know you were? I
thought it was just normal. I thought everyone did it. Right? I realized it wasn't normal. So that stopped when I started puberty and stuff. But and then so started really going into what happens after we die, because the whole Catholic thing about And then my father had bowel cancer when I was 15, and he survived, but it brought up the whole thing about, well, what really happens when you do die? So I went in the whole thing, and then did all the psychic stuff and did training in that area there. And it's all just evolved over time about, giving readings for people and going more into that nature of who you truly are, nature of consciousness, nature of self, and just read book after book after book, course after course after course.
Yeah, Greg, I just want to butt in there
and
for a
just
minute. I
progress
just
along
want
that way.
just wanted to say, just you want to check out anyone watching the video now. There's a preview which I put up about you guys being on our show, and I actually put down that you were voted Australia's greatest psychic on Channel 7's The One. So
Yeah,
I think, I just thought I'd mention that. Yeah, sorry to interrupt there.
That was back in, I was living the double life. I was still working in the bank and doing, clients on the side and stuff like that. And that, yeah, so I basically won Australia's best psychic back in 2011. That changed a lot of things. But, I've back in about 2008, I really didn't like doing the psychic readings because people were just they wanted to be told what to do. There was never this thing about self-motivation and all that stuff. So I started down the hypnotherapy, therapy side, counseling, and all that stuff. And I started from there. So the real passion started back in about 2008 about really finding people and helping people to find their purpose. And so that's where I learned, the hypnotherapy side of things and how the brain works, and which was great because you've been able to blend the psychic stuff, the intuition stuff with that. And then fast forward a number of years, a marriage breakdown, and now found a partner in life, and she's fantastic. Got 3 kids, but I was sort of at a crossroads with sort of my life, a few years ago. And there's a friend of ours named Craig Harper, who's literally the man. If you ever get a chance to listen to some of his stuff and reach out to him and see what he does, he's on Instagram, Facebook, and that. The guy is literally a god in my eyes. And
what was his name again? Sorry,
Craig Harper.
Craig Harper. Okay.
He's a fitness guru here. Cortez, actually, you'd love to talk. I'll tell you, we can get him on the show, mate. I'll tell you, it wouldn't be a.
Yeah.
It would be a
The fitness
would be a
bits
really
are front.
It'll be. He's a very smart man. He's just not a fitness guru. He's very smart. So so basically, something it popped up on my Facebook feed, and I thought, oh, don't know who this guy is. I didn't actually know who Craig was. And so it just popped up and I thought, I'll have a crack at this. It was, a course. And then I didn't realize that how profound that was going to be. It was Mike? It was a 6-week course or 12-week course?
Well, it was meant to be 6 weeks. It started at 6 weeks, yeah.
And that's how Mike and I met. We met through there, and it was, through that. And then,
started 2018.
Yeah, so we had a really strong bond from that. On the second week, people found out I did ayahuasca, and that, things down another rabbit hole after that one. And I dragged Mike into that world, and he has a little I think, from there, it's just been a natural evolution of trying to find people where they can find their true happiness, their true joy, and find where. And what we do is really simple. And Michael will speak after this about, he's much more versed in, the esoteric stuff than me. But, in the Western world, we're so conditioned that success is material stuff. Success is what you have, what you own, what your car you drive, the house you got, how you look in front of everybody else. And we got more rates of depression. We're more connected. We got more anxiety, all that kind of stuff because of what we're told is, whatever. And, what we try and do is bring it back to simple things about, who are you being and what is success for you, and strip it right back to the real core stuff and it really is as simple as who are you being, day to day, and what does that look like? And, we're pretty straight to the line. There's no fluffy stuff. There's some very tough conversations sometimes, but we help people try and realize it's an inside out kind of experience. We help people connect on the inside, not the external. And once you find that inside part, miracles happen. Your life is never the same once you find that place of that true happiness from inside. And then it's all about who are you being in the moment for moment day. What do you represent? And it's just we've got a great life. It's fantastic to be able to help people find that true place of who they really are, and they're not in a wishy-washy way, but a really strong, committed, deep soul, spiritual connection. We sort of just come around the idea that we've got so many things we can do and help people, and we work really well together. And there's things that I can't do that Michael does. I sit there in awe of what he writes sometimes and think, fuck, I've got a year 12 high school, packing them higher education, right? Stuff that Michael writes is off the planet, and I'm sitting in awe of what he does. And we've got different talents in different areas, but it complements each other so well in what we do. And there's just a passion that it comes from a heartfelt place. So we just want the best for people, and that's sometimes that's a hard conversation to have with people, and just sit down and go, everything you're doing right now is external. None of it's internal. And it's being able to bring people back to where is true happiness for them? Where is that place of contentment and joy and connectedness, and having those relationships with people, and being raw and authentic and passionate and driven and purposeful and all that kind of stuff. And we've picked up things along the way, but we've got a really good framework now it's called a framework because it flows. There's not a set. It's every single person we deal with, you won't get the same. We're a big thing about we're a done with you program, not done for you, or it's a online course where you go away and it's self-study or anything like that, because Michael can speak a bit more about this. But if you look at the statistics for self-study, I think 90% of people who do self-study don't finish the course. And I think it's around 50-60% don't even start the course. We help you build that connection. We help you build that purpose, that soul, that real strong, authentic self that has deep connection with people, deep connection with yourself, and you have real joy and real happiness and access to consciousness and flow states and ecstasy, and and still have ups and downs and bads and goods, and but to be able to deal with life and understand that life and we get some really weird conversations that reality is exactly what you make it. It's all about what you think.
100%.
And when you start down that line, people kind of go, well, no, dude, this is about you. All this stuff is about your thinking about it. And people, I'm surprised. We would change the world if we can get education in the children at 13, 14, 15, 16 about how the brain really works.
100%.
But we jam them full of shit.
The big thing I got, I was going to say, you missed out one big word that I reckon is very important that I got out of you too: awareness. Absolute awareness. Yeah. Biggest word you can have. It was just amazing. The awareness. Having conscious awareness was just phenomenal.
You know what? Fail. Fuck up. Screw up.
And you can swear all you want in this thing because he's a king swearer, so am I. So, yeah.
Right. But it's one of those things, like we don't try and be your Tony Robbins where it's all rah, rah, hey, we're about authentic living, that you're going to have bad times and sad times. It's about what you do about it. It's about, here's your growth. How are you going to, go through this? But I've talked enough. Michael, I could listen to you all day. We got time. Don't worry.
Well, welcome to my world. I love it. Yeah, I think Greg's been very humble. I think a bit like you, Jay, Greg had such a profound impact on my life at precisely the right time, which is, of course, exactly the way it happens, because there is no other way.
We love it.
That's it. And so if I
blame because I did take him down the psychedelic route. He's never going to forgive me for that. But
we're going to talk about the points,
we'll come back to that. We'll tell the whole story, because it unlocked doors and truths for me that were profound. And as those doors opened, it became obvious to me that was a necessary part of my journey, and it was really taking me down a path that I knew intimately was there, but I'd been avoiding. It's kind of that subconscious, unconscious, conscious development that you have to go through to really wake up. So if I go back, a little bit like Greg, I've got memories of being, what people would call spiritual or connected to other experiences as a kid, and I'd forgotten about those. I had quite a happy childhood, and late or midway through secondary schooling, had a couple of bad experiences where, in simple terms, I was at an all-boys school and got accused of being gay and became the brunt of a lot of people's jokes, and life got pretty hard pretty quick. So I went into a real shell for a few years, and after I left school, I disconnected from that life, and I kind of needed to, because being bullied and beat up and all that sort of stuff is not fun. And as a vulnerable young male, who was a very sporty, athletic kid and very competitive, it was pretty challenging. So I went to uni, was pretty lost, pulled out of that the first time around, took up martial arts somewhere around that time, and was really angry. So, I'd set out on this journey of revenge. Little did I know, sort of 10 or 15 years later of training, I developed quite a spiritual connection through that. So it started out as a journey of aggression, and got quite good at it, and got all the black belts and all that sort of good stuff. But what I took away from it was an awareness of myself that wasn't so much a spiritual development, but it was kind of like laying the groundwork for what was to come. Mm-hmm. So in the background, a bit like Greg, I went to a Catholic school, grew up that way, and was part of the church community. What was really healing for me, at least at the time, was I was about late 19, maybe 20. I met this with this girl who was gay, and she was like a soulmate. So she was somebody that I guess took all of those shadow aspects and all that drama that I'd taken on through school, and actually showed me a world that she was part of that was really quite joyful and connected and loving. And all the stuff that I'd probably not allowed myself to be. That was really, really powerful. And out of that, strangely enough, I ended up connecting to a group of Pentecostal Christians and got baptized as a born-again Christian in what's called the Narooma River here when I was, maybe 19 or 20, which, at the time, I guess I was looking for answers. I'd been through a lot of hurt. These people were beautiful. They were, really loving, caring people. And felt a connection to what in that world we called the Holy Spirit or God or whatever you want to call it. And it was really quite profound and beautiful. I guess I was still quite spiritually naive and young and vulnerable. So, I was probably at a place where I jumped at anything that I thought was going to take me to that place where I just felt better without the maturity and the wisdom to really process a lot of what had gone on leading up to that point. Mm-hmm. Anyway, shortly after that, I was really fortunate. I met my wife, who I'm still married to, 21, 22 years later. She's just the most beautiful human being, a rock. We've had 3 kids together. They're grown up, and despite everything that's gone on, she's been the one that's there holding the fort while I go through this crazy journey of remembering who I am. And probably scratches her head most days thinking, what the hell is this going on? So anyway, we'll fast forward a bit, because there's some crazy stuff that happened in between. I feel like my life's been one big synchronicity, and maybe a lot of people feel that way, but it's kind of cool. So I got to this point where in 2016, I lost my dad to cancer. In 2017, I took up road cycling as a kind of a way. He did it when he was younger, and I wanted to basically just raise money for cancer and send him off. It was kind of like my parting remembrance, if you like. Got most of the way through the year and had a pretty severe accident, nearly died towards the end of the year in September. So I fractured my femur and had some pretty nasty sort of complications with that. Ended up in hospital, and then I was basically at home for months learning how to walk again. And I got myself into a really dark place, because when you can't do anything except lay still and rely on everybody around you, you have a lot of time to work with your shadow, let's say. So what came of that is, without any, I guess I kind of went through a stage where I had a few years of not having the spiritual guides or the connection to meaningful relationships, because I'd got caught up in career and kicking goals. I've always been a helpful sort of person. I've been generous with my time. I coached junior football and basketball for the best part of 20 years. But all of these things that I did, I filled up every moment of my life with stuff, except for probably what I needed, which was to spend time working on myself to establish an identity and a truth and an authenticity that was going to take me to a place where I could show up best for everybody. That bit came a little bit later. So spending all that time trying to recover. So, I got a big titanium rod put in the leg and all that nasty stuff.
Wow.
It was the start of 2018. I caught up. I'd known Craig, who Greg mentioned, for quite some time. And I rang him and I said, hey, mate, I saw you've got this course advertised. This isn't one of those weight loss course things, is it? And he just said, no. And he just said, no, mate, you need to come. That's it. That's all he said. And because at this time I was still in bed. I wasn't walking. I wasn't even sure how I was going to get there because I probably wasn't going to be driving for a while. Anyway, so Greg might even remember that the first night of this first course, I've got my sticks for walking, and I managed to drag myself up the stairs, and I sat up in the back corner and I told a bit of a story, and I was, I was in a bad place. I probably didn't want to be around. And I can't remember if it was the first week or the second week that, Greg, you told your story, but it touched. So it touched something. And when he spoke of his experience with ayahuasca, I'd been pretty much straight 180 my whole life.
No, you had. You've done nothing compared to me.
I did. I knew nothing. So my compass had taken me in a different direction up to that point.
Oh my God!
No word of a lie. This was the tipping point, and my life since then has been a roller coaster of insanity. So it was, I reckon, the next day or within a couple of days, I had to go. No, sorry. It was about a week or two later. I had to catch a plane for work to Sydney. And out of nowhere, I'm sitting next to this lady and she starts telling me this story about an ayahuasca journey. I'd never heard of the word. I had to go and Google to even work out how to spell it. So anyway, so then and within a couple of days, I was catching up with a couple of mates, and we went and saw this movie, and this other some random lady, she starts telling me about it. I'm like, oh my God, this is insane.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then I get curious,
and so it starts.
I've always been curious. Yeah, and this is where the rabbit hole journey begins.
Mm-hmm.
So start looking it up, and the first thing you learn is that when you're called, you're called. You know. So then, Greg and I, by this time, we'd done a few weeks of the course and had a couple of conversations. Probably hadn't really connected that much, but enough to get to know each other. And then I think it was about July of that year, there was a tea ceremony retreat, we'll call it, that I had the opportunity to attend, and it was the most transformative, powerful experience of my life by far.
Would you like to talk about a little bit about what happened, or?
Look, I'll give you just a brief bit. So leading up to it, I had actually done a bit of research, and Greg had sort of coached me a little bit along and gave me a bit of an idea of what to expect without scaring the pants off me. But you know what? It actually all felt right. There was no I did the work. So I prepared myself physically, mentally. I spent a lot of time meditating and setting intention. Ate perfectly, really, really prepared my body and my mind. And it was a profound experience. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a fair bit of purging in there where you clear some stuff. And my purging came mostly through the bottom half, not the top half. So that was pretty awkward. But what came from it was, one of my intentions was, I wanted to, because you got to remember, at this point I was still pretty down. I hadn't really physically fully healed, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I was still in a pretty yuck place because I kind of hadn't worked out what my life was all about, and I kind of wondered meaning, purpose, all that sort of stuff. And we can get into that later in the show. But I had this incredible experience where I relived all the joyous moments of my childhood. Wow. in perfect clarity. It was as real as you and I sitting here talking now. It was just the most extraordinary experience. It was like the greatest gift you could ask for. It was like a download of happiness.
Yeah.
And then from there, it kind of just escalated into more and more powerful, deep spiritual things, which culminated. The only way I can describe it is because words don't do it justice, but I became one with the source.
Okay.
And it was an extraordinary experience where basically I dissolved into everything that is, and you get this conscious awareness of everything. The only way you can describe it is it's perfect, it's infinite, and it's eternal. And that was the start. Yeah. And I guess from there, we did a few good debrief sessions out, and that was a beautiful night too, Greg. I don't know if you remember, it was a full moon. We sat out and looked at the stars for hours and just basically
I like how you emphasise full moon.
Became one with the universe.
That's amazing. Honestly,
it was really cool. And so I guess fast forward since then, I keep getting on my bike and I keep having bad injuries.
Bugger.
So I've had in between then I had some time off with a broken neck and a broken spine, and more recently,
Michael,
a fractured pelvis.
You give up on that one.
He's giving up the road bike. That's the plan anyway.
Yeah, I know. I'm actually looking at it. It's just in front of me on the other side of the computer. But in between that, there's been some extraordinary spiritual growth. And, I'm so grateful for Greg's friendship and the opportunity that we have to work with people like Jay and others where we basically help people rewrite their future, rewrite their present, and put a different lens on their past so that they can show up and be their best selves. I mean, we have a podcast together that we call Unlocking the Secrets to Human Potential, but it's really just
could you send me that,
showing people.
Could you send me that information, Mick, if you don't, sorry to cut you off, could you send that information to the group chat so we can chuck it on so everyone can have a listen to it too? Sorry to cut you off there, mate.
Yeah. No, not at all. And to get back to the point you raised earlier, I mean, you basically said my two favourite words, conscious awareness. So, I've taken the time to listen to quite a lot of Ram Dass over the last couple of years, and I think he just sums it up beautifully that, when you're in a state of loving awareness, you invite a different energy into your life. And through that, you connect differently with people. You connect differently with yourself. Yeah, and my big thing is trying to understand who I am is about, seeing myself through my eyes, through your eyes, and unpacking who I am relative to everything. And the more I come to an authentic truth about that, the better I can, support myself and those around me.